Game 7, drama in Toronto. Tied at 1, top of the third. Julio Rodriguez with a solo home run to make it 2-1. Earlier in the bat, he fouled it off his foot. Hit one perhaps foul. And then Cal Raleigh in the top of the 5th. Big dumper into the Mariners bullpen to make it 3-1. And you're thinking, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, until this. Bottom 7, a Springer dinger. And the Blue Jays take the lead 4-3 on one swing of the bat from George Springer. A 3-run homer off of Edward Bizardo. Final chance for the Mariners. And Julio Rodriguez goes down swinging. Jeff Hoffman gets him. And the Blue Jays headed to the World Series for the first time in 32 years. Last time they were in the World Series, 1992, 1993, they won back-to-back titles. And now they advance to play the reigning World Series champion Dodgers. Game 1 of the World Series is Friday, and that Game 1 will be played in Toronto. The first 2 games will be played at Rogers Center. So it'll be a long flight for the Dodgers to think about how they can run it back. For the Mariners, going to go into the offseason thinking what could have been, as they were trying to get to the World Series for the first time in franchise history, and they come up short. George Springer, the hero, in Game 7. Woo! My goodness.
Wow.
I mean, you want to talk about drama, the emotion, the ebbs and flows.
Oh.
That Game 7, like, I'm not even a particular fan of either of these teams. You know, I'm a Cleveland guy. You know, I had the Mariners in this series because I feel a little connection to that team. They hadn't been to the World Series. Now they're still chasing that. They were oh so close, and now the Blue Jays and George Springer. Just the emotion of that game, watching that as a former player. Give me your instant emotions of watching what just went down.
Well, as you watch this unfold, the brightest stars were the ones shining, right? You look at the Seattle Mariners. They're playing their game. They're not striking out a lot, which is rare for them. Julio goes deep. The big dumper goes deep. And you're like, they're doing it exactly how they needed to do it to win. And they're pitching really well.
Right.
And then George Springer, this is his 78th postseason game. That's his 23rd postseason homers. He's tied 3rd all time now with Kyle Schwarber. Experience matters, especially in the biggest moments. The biggest stars in this game from both sides stood out.
Right.
That's what happens in these games. And that's just, and he's now on the Mount Rushmore of home runs for Toronto Blue Jays. Joe Carter, Jose Bautista, and now George Springer.
I mean, we talk about a slow heartbeat, right? We talk about guys that are with experience, guys that have been there and done that. In that situation, I know we're going to get into it, but in that situation right there, who else besides Vladdy Jr. do you want up in that situation?
That's him.
You know?
That is him.
And that's your veteran. That's your guy that leads everything in that clubhouse. I know, again, Vladdy is one of the young leaders in that clubhouse, but this man right here, been there, done that, won a ring with Houston, 23 home runs in the postseason. This is the guy you wanted up in that situation, and he delivered big time. Man, what a swing. I'm so happy for George. I know George personally, and he's such a good dude. He really leaves it all out on the field. I mean, everybody in the clubhouse loves him. But, man, what a moment, what a big swing. We said it was going to be a big moment.
Yeah.
And it was going to be and who's going to step up, who's going to be the hero? George Springer.
Well,
man.
it was just a well-played baseball game for the most part. We'll get into why we think it wasn't, the one mistake that was made.
Yep.
There were no one-run games in this entire series.
Right.
Of course, Game 7 was.
Of course it was. Of course it was. And it was because, well, the mistake of that home run right there. I want to show the home run again because first base was open.
Yes.
With Nathan Lucas on deck. First base is open, Will.
Yeah.
And he throws him a pitch down the middle, and he just hammered it. And what is this thinking here? Is this, I'm just going to challenge you?
When he came in the game, what were we saying? I said every pitch has to be like an 0-2 pitch.
Yep.
If you walk them, you walk them.
Yep.
You cannot challenge the guy with the most postseason experience in the stadium in that moment. Mm-hmm. He's the only one built for that outside of Vladdy.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have that experience. He's just him.
Yeah.
Right? You have the base open. You throw slider more than anything. That's the pitch you trust. First pitch, fastball in. That tells me, okay, he's trying to pitch around him to get to his slider where he can throw that 2-strike slider just off the plate. He throws another fastball middle in, and Cal Raleigh was set up there. That wasn't a mistake. He threw to the glove. That is bad planning. Why are you throwing him anything over the plate? That is a massive mistake, and it cost them their season.
Yeah, and we were saying it in the room watching the game. Like, why throw him that pitch? One, but again, why challenge him in that moment right there? I know Benzardo has a great fastball. We saw, 97, 98 mile-an-hour sink, a lot of sink on his ball, but you got a base open right there.
Right.
Again, guy with the most experience. George Springer, 22 home runs, 23 home runs now in the postseason. It just wasn't a smart play. And like you said, Cal Raleigh was set up there. That was a planned pitch, and he executed it very well. But again, I didn't understand throwing to him right there, and for that to be right in his happy zone. He handles that ball down and in like that very, very well, even though it was 97.
Now, as I thought through this more after the fact, trying to peel back the layers and say, why would they try to get him out there with a pitch in the zone? All right, you do have Nathan Lucas. There was one out, right?
Yep.
You say you get Springer out, then you can get Lucas out, and then you don't have to face Vladdy. If you do walk him there, your base is loaded. Let's say you get a strikeout, pop out, whatever. Vladdy's still coming up in a big spot. But you can't make that pitch. You have to make borderline 0-2 type pitches to try to get him to chase. If he doesn't, tip your cap, you move on and try to figure it out from that point.
He goes to first base. Make a pitcher's pitch right there. But I didn't quite understand that.
This is history repeating itself. George Springer hit a 3-run homer on a 96-mile-per-hour sinker in the bottom of the 7th to give the Blue Jays the lead in a winner-take-all game. 10 years ago, Jose Bautista hit a 3-run homer on a 97-mile-per-hour sinker in the bottom of the 7th to give the Blue Jays the lead in a winner-take-all game against the Rangers. It is history repeating itself. Now, the Blue Jays didn't go on to win the World Series that year, but 2 of the most epic home runs in Toronto Blue Jays history. You see the swing there, the moment, the emotion, and what these guys are going through in this game, right? And you knew George Springer, one of the best players in baseball, right? We call him the hard-hitting. He's hard-hitting from New Britain. So he's from Connecticut, right?
Right.
So this is a guy we know well. Went to Avon Old Farms. Shouts to them here in Connecticut where we are. And he delivers, got hit on the knee, comes back, and just a big moment. And then here it is.
Same pitch, same spot.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Joey Bats was in the building, too.
And he was. We got to get a
Well, the broadcast didn't show him, so we will.
We got to get a pan to Joey Bats after that homer, by the way.
These are moments that live in baseball history now. Will, this George Springer home run is going to go down in Toronto Blue Jays history for all time.
Until George Springer gets a big hit to maybe win the World Series, that will be the swing of his career.
Yep.
He will, all those postseason games, and he's far from being done in his career. He's going to play close to probably 85, 90, maybe even more postseason games by the time it's all said and done for him. He's a winning player. He's always in the postseason. That will be the one that plays on a repeat in the back of his mind because that was the biggest one for him.
And you root for guys. Again, you root for guys like this. He got hit in the knee. We thought he was done. We thought he was out. But at the same time, you know what kind of fighter and warrior you have in George Springer. And everybody in that clubhouse knew when he tried to go down to first base after getting hit in the knee, you knew he wasn't trying to come out of that game. But John Schneider said, hey, man, we need to take a look at you. But at the same time, this home run, it couldn't happen to a better dude, a better guy. Knowing him as a teammate, I was the teammate of his for a little bit of time, but as just a good dude, a good clubhouse guy, for this to happen to him and for him to have that moment after getting hit in the knee like that, hats off to George Springer for that, man.
For the Mariners, now it's another year where they have to wait to try to get to the World Series. Never been to a World Series. They were 1 win away. And what I'm going to remember is that Cal Raleigh was sitting on deck, down a run. It was a 3-2 count to Julio Rodriguez. He swings at 3 balls out of the zone. The one that struck him out, a sweeper that was way out of the zone, and Cal Raleigh's on deck. You're going to go into the offseason. Yeah, he hit 65 home runs in the regular season and postseason combined, but he didn't get a chance to get to the plate in the biggest game of the season.
But I want to hit on that. So in that moment, I've never been in a Game 7. I've never been, the last man at the plate for my team in a Game 7, winner-take-all game. You're trying to get on base in that moment. But it just in that moment, you're not, like Will said, you're not feeling your legs at that moment, And it's the people that have the slow heartbeat. I'm not saying Julio Rodriguez isn't built for that moment, but just to defend him in that aspect, he's not all there. The superstar in itself.
Oh, I'm not
is not
blaming
all,
him.
No,
I
know that. I'm just
realizing
saying
what Mariners fans are going to say. They're going to be
Right.
like, "Oh, Cal Raleigh was on deck."
Kyle Raleigh was on deck, but in that moment, it's a huge moment. Again, it's about who can control the moment, who can slow their heartbeat down. In that moment, man,
I'll say
3-2. He just swung at a bad pitch.
I'll say this.
Yeah.
I've never been in that exact moment, but I've been in a Game 6 of the ALCS. I've been in a Game 6 of a World Series. It wasn't make or break at bat for me, but I've been in those moments where you're trigger happy.
Yeah.
You don't want to. You want to be the hero. You want to make the big swing. So you do tend to expand in those situations when your heart is beating out of your chest.
Yep.
They're humans.
Yep.
Believe it or not, they're the best in the world at what they do, but they're humans, and he wants to be the guy. And Hoffman made good pitches. He realized early in that count. He went down 2-0. He threw a good 2-0 slider that should have been the third ball of the at-bat. Julio expanded. At that point, he knew he didn't necessarily have to throw a good pitch to hit. He could nibble because in that moment, now Hoffman's out there too with his heart beating out of his chest with a chance to go to the World Series. And he executed and Julio didn't. That's just the game.
That's the game. And this was a guy that threw 35 pitches yesterday in Game 6. And you're sitting here going, man, maybe he'll get a little bit overworked and maybe he'll give up a hit to the bottom of the order because the bottom of the order for the Mariners did not get it done. They did not get it done. Right. And that's what you're going to think. You got to give us a chance. Cal Raleigh left on the on-deck circle, and the Mariners will have to wait another year. The Blue Jays become the first team ever to win a league championship series after losing the first 2 games at home. 23 teams had tried. 23 teams had failed. Now the Blue Jays are the 24th team. They are successful. They are headed to the World Series. Congratulations to the Toronto Blue Jays. Going to host the Dodgers in Games 1 and 2 of the World Series. They went back-to-back in 92 and 93. Joe Carter hit a big home run. I don't know if you remember that. Never hit a bigger homer in your life off of you-know-who, the Wild Thing. That was an incredible moment in baseball history. What do we think? What do we think's going to happen here? Blue Jays and Dodger Blue in the Fall Classic Game 1 Friday back in Toronto.